It's time for another episode of Rainmaker for Contractors. Interviews and success stories with $1 million plus basement waterproofing and foundation repair owners. Discover how they market and grow their companies in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your industry. With your host and Rainmaker for Contractors owner, Bill Crawford.
Hey, well, welcome to the Rainmaker for Contractors podcast. So glad you joined us. Today we have Mr. Robert Lanfrank from Healthy Way Waterproofing and Mold Remediation. Robert,
hey, Bill.
Welcome. How you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Hey, can you tell us a little bit about your company, your services, your coverage area, things like that?
Sure. Healthy Way's celebrating its 12th year in business. We service about 80% of the state of New Jersey. We specialize in basement and crawl space waterproofing and foundation repair. And we do mold remediation anywhere from the basement all the way to the attic, as well as remodeling. Our niche is that we are a one-stop shop company. And I think that's how we've positioned ourselves and has got us to where we are today.
Sure. So, you kind of opened the door for my first question, and that is, how are you different? And obviously you're different because you're doing mold remediation and mold testing and so on. And one of the things I've admired is you're certified at IAQA, which maybe there's a lot of people out there that belong to it, but it's different. It's a totally different game to be certified and all that stuff. So can you comment a little bit about that, being different than many waterproofers out there, that you have all this certification in relation to mold and any other ways that you position yourself differently from a lot of other waterproofers out there?
Yeah, well, that is definitely the number one way we separate ourselves. I would say that majority of our competition are basement waterproofing companies that market themselves as waterproofing companies that also do mold remediation, where we market ourselves as a mold remediation company that also does waterproofing. A lot of these waterproofing companies are now doing remediation, and New Jersey is a very competitive market, but the way they're doing it, it's not what I would consider full remediation. So that's, yes, I took the time many years ago to start getting certified through the IAQA, and anyone, all my inspectors and the foreman of my crews are all certified. And that's, when we're going into a home and looking at comparing estimates and comparing companies, we do find that when we put them side by side, the type of remediation we're doing is different than most of these other waterproofers. Basically, what I say is a lot of these other waterproofing companies do what I call sanitizing. They really stress the chemical side of the job, but they don't stress what I think is the most important, that's mold removal. Chemicals do not remove mold. They basically take the spores there and either kill them or put them into a dormant stage. And that's good, but you're still left with a lot of mold spores in that area, where true remediation is about removing mold. The other way we separate ourselves is the remodeling side. A lot of waterproofing or mold remediation companies will come in and rip things out, cut the sheetrock, remove the sheetrock, a tile, whatever needs to be removed to do the job properly. And a lot of them don't do the putback. Or if they do, they're dealing with just basic work. I actually started a separate company now called Beyond Compare Construction that is a full service remodeling company. Nice. And we use them as a sub. So when we go into a customer's home, we're going to present them with an estimate from the remediation, the waterproofing, if there's foundation repair, and any form of remodeling they want to do, whether it's a basic job up to a detailed job, and we do additions and everything else. So I find that customers really prefer to deal with one contractor. This way, if they have one go-to person, And if there's any problems or any questions or concerns, they don't have the finger pointing going on. And, so we have a lot of our customers tell us that one of the main reasons they used us is because they liked that they could deal with one contractor, and that, we could do it from beginning to end.
Wow. Boy, you're offering a lot more than what I have seen out there. It's impressive. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, in light of COVID-19, you doing anything different? What's that look like from, say, 2 years ago?
Well, in the beginning, we started implementing some, Zoom meetings with the customers, but in this business, you got to inspect. We did try customers taking photographs and sending it to us. It helped, but we still had to, let the customer know that we would still have to get out there eventually to look at things. But I was pleasantly surprised that we didn't skip much of a beat, especially the first, the spring that it came out last spring. Our business didn't decrease that much.
Nice.
The people, it was different in the sense that some of them, wouldn't be there. So, so we had to, conform a little. Like, we would do the inspection, and then if the person didn't want us, sit down at the table with us, then we would do the presentation with them, from on a Zoom meeting, maybe the next day or later that day. But we really haven't had to do that now in a while. We're pretty much back to normal there. The one change I did make due to COVID, and I don't know if I'm going back, is I got rid of my office. And at first I was, concerned about it, but everybody loves working from their home. We haven't, skipped a beat in business. It hasn't hurt us at all. Saving tens of thousands of dollars for rent and utilities.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Meetings we're doing through Zoom. And, we just had a meeting the other day, and I asked everyone that, are we ready to get back to an office? And it was shot down. It was zero, yeah. Not one vote for to go back to an office. So that is a change we made, and I'm not sure we're going to go back. It's working great. And like I said, it's reducing expenses. So right now it's a win-win.
Nice. I think there's a lot of companies that are not going back, and it's going to be pulling teeth to get people back in that office, especially when there's a commute involved. Big one.
Yeah. And even with the crews, we rented a storage space, and they meet there in the morning. Mm-hmm. And that's, the rent on that's minimal. So that was my biggest concern, was with the crews and storage and stuff for equipment and materials, but we've worked it out, and so far so good.
Nice. Hey, you've been around 12 years, you're continuing to grow, you just bought a new company, you're expanding. Do you have any, why do you think you are continually successful year after year? Are there certain core values, principles, systems in place? What is it that guides you?
Well, I think number one is customer service. People today want customer service. They want to know that that the company's going to be there when they need them. And again, it starts literally from the time we answer the phones. I have stressed for years, because I learned this at other companies, that I couldn't believe how many times I would walk into a customer's home and say, we knew you were a good company as soon as, you guys answered the phone. And just based on how friendly everyone was and professional, showing up. It's, I know you probably know this about, going into homes and saying, we called 4 companies, and, the other 3 never even showed up. Yeah. So, being on time, which all of this to me ties into customer service. The other thing I think is, and this is for our customers who are doing work for us, besides quality, of course, that goes without saying, but the other one is cleanliness. for years, just the amount of complaints I would hear when I went into homes, and customers would say, oh, we had another contractor do this or do that. And my God, they did beautiful work, but they left a mess. Or there was constantly a mess, or they didn't clean up, or they left this. And those contractors didn't realize that they lost the referral just because of that.
Yeah.
Even though they liked the work, whatever they hired them to do, they liked that, but because of something as small as that. So, I'm a stickler about, leaving our jobs even cleaner than when we first started, and giving our customers far exceeding what they expect when it comes to customer service, whether we did the job or met with them a day ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny you say that. We had a few jobs when I was running a waterproofing company that, the crew did above and beyond. They did a killer job, but there was like one cigarette butt in front of the house, and the wife just like, these people are,
Yeah.
I can't believe this. It is what it is,
And that ruins, again, it literally, you work hard, you do a good job, you get rid of the mold, you dry out their basement, you do all this, and then you literally lose a referral, because now they're hesitant to refer you, because people don't want to refer unless they're 110% comfortable that job's going to go smooth from beginning to end. And now they have that hesitancy because you didn't clean up, or you left the place a mess. And I think it also says a lot about the company. I teach my employees to treat these people's homes the way they would treat their own home. It took a while to really instill that in a lot of my employees, and really get it to the point where they understood the importance of it. At first, I think they got it, but they didn't realize how important it was. But now I would say that's a big part of our culture. And if we hire someone new, I can, as the other people are training them or whatever, I must hear it repeated 10 times, and, make sure everything's clean, and make sure this, that we're in touch with the customer. Of course, when people call you, they should get immediate callbacks. It shouldn't be next day. We do our best to return the calls immediately, whether it's a new customer or a service call. So it's just, I don't think you could ever be good enough at customer service.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you and I were on the board of directors together at Basement Health Association for several years. I know you've done some work with Tony Robbins. You've been to some of his conferences, but
yeah,
pretty involved. And I've been intrigued with some of the stories. Can you talk about Tony Robbins' impact perhaps on your life or your business?
Yeah, it's funny. I just watched, literally 2 nights ago, I watched the movie again, which I recommend for anyone. It's on Netflix. I Am Not Your Guru. That's his, they did basically a documentary of his seminar called Date with Destiny, which was, for me, was life-changing. I've done all his seminars.
Wow.
I haven't been to one now in a couple of years because I went through all of them, but I plan on actually doing Date with Destiny again. It was that of an incredible experience for me. I guess, I'm a big believer that, like attracts like. When I'm at these seminars, and the people I've met have had a profound effect on my life. And a lot of them are, people go there for many different reasons, some personal, some business, both. But I've met some people that have really been a motivating factor for me in business. There's some very successful people that I've met at these seminars, and they're people that I will call, and when I need to make a big decision, or I'm confused about something, or just want a second opinion. So it's I really believe that without those people in my life, and what I learned with Tony, because for me, with Tony, what makes me come back is the fact that he really does walk the walk. he's not just one of those guys who goes on stage and, puts on a great show and says all great things and all that. And then his personal life is different. Tony lives it. I have a friend, she's worked for Tony, very closely with Tony for years, and she does a lot of her own stuff as well. She's even told me that it's just, this is the way he lives. And for me, that's important. If I'm going to, dedicate the time I have to his seminars require, and even when you get home and, continue to work on the things that, I related to at these seminars, I need to know the person is walking the walk, and that's Tony Robbins. So yes, he's really helped me in business. I also did his business mastery seminar, which
he ain't cheap either. You put a lot of money into that.
No. But the money I've spent with all those seminars, I've gotten back tenfold.
Nice.
So I looked at it as an investment. I always try to invest some money every year in myself. Things like Tony or other things that help me. I'm constantly managing people and have to, sometimes, be there for them, be like a psychologist and motivate and train and, always be the one that they're looking, to. So once in a while I need to, recharge my batteries and do that to others. Be the one who asks for the help and not one has to give it. So I like to do things like that every year, and I don't see myself stopping because it's benefited me both business and personally. And again, I definitely wouldn't be owning two companies today if it wasn't for that. So one of the people I met had a lot to do with helping me start my second company, my construction company. So
that's awesome. It's all about people. Hey, you said something in a board meeting once, and I'll always remember it. I thought of it a few times, but we were talking about the lack of diversity that we had amongst our board. And you said, we've got to have more females on this board. And I was like, nice job. Diversity. I believe that. We don't want a bunch of old white men on a board,
But let's not get political.
Hey, what do you think the key to sales is?
The key to sales is consistency. And what I mean by that is I think too many salespeople try to think on their feet too much when they're in front of a customer, and based on the vibe they're getting or some type of, if they stereotype the customer or prejudge the customer, and they will adjust their presentation for that customer. I've been training salespeople in this industry now for 28 years.
Wow.
And every top producer I worked with or for were the best at that. I always call them equal opportunity salesmen. They basically, as long as the people had a problem that truly needs to be fixed, and the people were willing to give that person or the salesperson the time to do their inspection and, sit down and take the time to explain the problem and educate them and then, show them solutions. Those salespeople would present it the same way, no matter who they were sitting in front of. They were the most consistent at doing their presentation. And I always find that those are the top producers, the guys who think they know, I'll get the call within 20 minutes, Robert. I knew that they weren't, wouldn't be able to afford this, or there was just no urgency, or they weren't going to fix it for a couple years, or they were just shopping. You don't know. I've been in this business almost 30 years, and I still run appointments sometimes. And I always make a trick. I'll play a game where I'll say in the beginning, all right, good or bad here, and I'm wrong more times than I'm right.
Sure.
So I've learned the same thing. I want to give that customer the opportunity to hear everything I have to say, so which gives them the best opportunity to make the most educated decision.
Sure. And how about lead sources? Do you have any insight into various lead sources, whether Google, Home Advisor?
I mean, we get a lot of leads from the web, from pay-per-click or SEO. We do get a lot of leads. Now that we're in business for 12 years and have a very strong reputation, and we're starting to get some name recognition, a lot, more of our leads are starting to come in as referrals.
Nice.
I also use Angie's List and Home Advisor. A lot of people, I don't like him, I don't like this. I mean, based on the amount of money I spend with both of those organizations, I definitely get enough of a return that I continue to use them. Mm-hmm. The only print I do is there's a local magazine around here called Direct Advantage. It's a home improvement contractors, and they give an exclusivity for each, industry. So I still dabble a little in print, but it's, it's pretty much internet. And I really haven't found anything new and exciting when it comes to generating leads. I think it's consistency. It's people go on Angie's List. I now have 90+ reviews.
Nice.
With an A rating, and
nice.
So I get a lot of appointments from them. So it's about reputation, especially when it comes to advertising.
And entrepreneurship can be hard, right?
Yes.
Do you have any words of wisdom for a waterproof or foundation repair company that's kind of just trying to make it, trying to grow their company?
Well, it's based on what they're looking to do. A lot of my competitors, and some of them do excellent work, but they're a one-man show, and that's where they're comfortable being. And I've never done that, so I really have no words of wisdom for someone who's wanting to run their company like that. For someone who's looking to grow the company, and not be a one-man show, you're nothing without a lead. It all starts with the lead. Yes, you have to have the salesperson to sell the lead, and then you have to have the good crews to install them, and all that. That has to be. But you're nothing without a lead. And I'll being in this industry in New Jersey for a long time, I know some of my competitors, and we're friendly, and I know some of the guys who were the one-man shows, and to them, advertising is a bad word. They don't want to advertise. They don't want to spend that money, and that's fine if they want to be a small company.
Sure.
But if they want to grow that company, they can't expect to hire salespeople without enough leads for those salespeople.
Yeah.
So it starts with advertising, but there's a very fine line between advertising enough and advertising too much. I've seen a lot of companies go out of business because they, every year they just keep on continually increasing their advertising budget to the point where, if it doesn't rain a lot, or, we have a drought or something that affects the waterproofing business, they're in trouble. So, my magic number is 15%. I'll use any source of advertising as long as the cost of the advertising comes in at 15% or less of the amount of sales generated from that advertising.
Yeah.
If it comes in under 15%, I'll never stop using it. And and I watch that very closely. So
pretty common, pretty standard in the industry. You gotta advertise, otherwise no one knows you're there, right?
That's correct. And if you're going to build a sales force, like I said, if you want to build the company, if it's not just one guy, then you have to. that starts everything. Then now I've seen plenty of companies who do a great job of getting the leads, and then they don't do a good job at either selling enough of those appointments or installing them properly, and then they, get a bad reputation. But it all starts with leads and quality leads. I spent a lot of time in the beginning and training the people in the office to make sure we're booking quality appointments and making sure that, they fit what we're looking for.
Sure.
So that's where it starts. And then it goes from there.
Yep. That's awesome. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for joining us today. So appreciate your words of wisdom, your insight. 28 years in the business. There's a lot in that head of yours about our industry. Sure.
Actually, this month was 29.
Wow.
I forget more than I remember. It's things will pop up in my head and I'll go, my God, that's right. I used to teach that 10 years ago and I forgot. I can't believe I got in this industry. I answered a blind ad and I literally took the job with Mid-Atlantic as a salesperson as an interim until I found something in the industry I was working in.
Yeah.
And here I am 29 years later.
It's a huge congratulations. You had a great career. I wish you many more prosperous years.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, pal. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Rainmaker for Contractors podcast, where basement waterproofing and foundation repair business owners and industry experts share marketing and sales information that helps you reach more customers. Please leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and get all of our show notes at rainmakerforcontractors.com/podcast.